I'm Philip Reiner, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute for Security and Technology. I am someone who uh, served in the US federal government for about 10 years, working in OSD policy in the Pentagon, and then was seconded to the National Security Council staff for almost 4 years under President Obama. So my area of expertise is actually pretty broad. I am a generalist, I think is the easiest way to characterize it. I am someone who comes to international security with both regional and functional expertise. So I've spent a lot of my life in East Asia and in South Asia, but I've also spent a lot of time around technology. So I've spent time at Raytheon Company building defense technologies, and now at the Institute for Security and Technology, where we really cover the gamut of emerging security threats that have a technology focus. One of the favorite guest lectures that I have the opportunity to give is at UC Berkeley, and it's on the security implications of artificial intelligence. And this is really an attempt to look at AI and emerging AI capabilities that may drive strategic and or operational level security considerations, but then also how one might want to think about artificial intelligence development through an ethical lens. So do you actually want to arm soldiers with an AI that tells them when and if to kill, even if it's under the law of armed conflict? Is that a path that we want to head down as a civilization? That's one of my favorite guest lectures to give. So I am incredibly excited at the opportunity of being able to mentor both high school and or college students. As someone who, when I went through undergrad, I had really, looking back at it now, I had hoped to have more mentors at the time who could have talked to me about the career paths that I ended up finding on my own. And so at this point in my life, I have a keen interest in trying to serve that role for others. So very happy to mentor both high school and college and graduate school, to be honest. So I became interested in international security when I was much younger. I was actually traveling quite a bit after having graduated from undergrad. And I was in India, up in the Himalaya, studying Hindi when 9/11 happened, and was then in New Delhi when Lashkar-e-Taiba attacked the Indian parliament. And as I made my way back to the United States in the months afterward, I was seized with the conviction that I needed to get involved somehow in international security issues. And my driving interest was in, and remains in, trying to make it so that the least amount of people have to suffer and die. And so for me, it was, how do I find a way into international security to affect the greatest degree of change? And it really started back then, as I saw events unfolding on the international stage firsthand. So my career path is a circuitous one. It's not linear in any way whatsoever, and I think that's actually one of the biggest takeaways. I think having a non-linear career path is totally okay. I'm someone who I've been a middle school teacher. I've been a cook in a restaurant. I've been a line cook. I've delivered flowers. I've done everything you can imagine, but I found my way into a research position at Raytheon Company working for engineers. And from there, then made my way to Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, so Johns Hopkins SAIS, and then worked my way into OSD policy because of my background in South Asia and in defense technologies. That was really where the jumping off point for me was. And from there, it was really off to the races. So the career path is one, I'm somebody who studied religion and history as an undergrad student, and then found myself working for President Obama on Pakistan's nuclear program. So you can come at it from all variety of different perspectives, but it's definitely something you gotta pick the thing that you are most passionate about and pursue it with tenacity. I will never forget one of the moments when I had left federal service and moved back to California and was working with some colleagues here to to think about ways to use technological tools to reduce nuclear risk. And we were speaking to a very senior public official here in the state of California. And their comment back was, well, I thought people had already taken care of this. I thought this problem had been solved. And by no means had it been. It was definitely still a very significant risk to the public. The public needs to care about nuclear matters because it's in their vested interest. These are issues that affect all of us every day. And if a nuclear war, right, a nuclear conflict were actually to ensue, or even the accidental use of a nuclear weapon were to happen, that affects every citizen on this planet. These are weapons of the most significant lethality. These are the most dangerous weapons that have ever been created. And so it's intimately in the public's interest to care about these issues, to support those who work on these issues day to day, and to maintain, I think, an awareness of what it means for them and for society more broadly. One of the things that affected some of the greatest change when it came to nuclear weapons development and proliferation had to do with public pressure, had to do with public awareness of what these weapons are and what they mean for everybody. And so I think it's an incredibly important thing for everybody to be cognizant of. It is not a solved problem. It is a problem that continues to actually grow in salience. And so I think it's important for as many people as possible to be involved. There are, my day-to-day job is one where we think a lot about issues that are concerning, that have a technology nexus. I think one of the things that I would say in answer to the question of, what concerns me the most is really the confluence of a number of technological trends that we see today, to include issues associated with what's commonly thought of as cybersecurity, how it comes together with artificial intelligence, machine learning capabilities, and the nexus of those things with nuclear weapons and nuclear command, control, and communication systems, so NC3. So it's not one of those; it's all of those when they come together. And what does that mean for stability? What does that mean for not just the security of these systems, but what does it mean for signaling and credibility in a context where nuclear weapon states are very much dependent upon survivability in order to build their systems and to avoid conflict? If we live in a world where survivability is no longer guaranteed and the credibility of a nuclear deterrent is no longer well established, that lends to instability and potential conflict. So as these digital systems integrate with nuclear command and control systems more broadly internationally, I think we have a lot of work to do to make sure that we don't let that lead inadvertently or on purpose to conflict.